there, Leslie with the Moxxi Coffee Company and the Moxxi Women's Foundation, and today I'm speaking with Kyla Schmidt, and she's the founder of Mom Starts Here. It's a nonprofit in Troy, New York that serves women and families, right? Not just women, but families as well?
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about your foundation and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so Mom Starts Here is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and our mission is to serve women in unplanned pregnancies, young parents, and families in need. So we've got dads too, even though it's called Mom Starts Here. And our goal is to help support them, make sure that they have what they need, connect them to community resources, but also meet their needs as parents by making sure that they have all the essentials for their children.
Okay. So are you providing goods, services, a combination of both?
Yeah, so this kind of, I like to think of it as two different sides of what we do. So there's the direct service, side of our services where we provide a monthly supply of diapers for each diaper-wearing child in the household. And that's on an ongoing basis. So that's newborn through, potty trained age, which varies as we know. We also make sure that every child has sleep and safety essentials. So brand new car seat, brand new pack and play with a mattress, or a toddler bed with a crib mattress if they're older. We want to make sure that children have those basic safety items for their sleep and travel. And then we also redistribute gently loved baby items from the community. So we're always accepting donations from the community. And we have a full list of items that we accept, but really think anything that you receive at your baby shower, we'll accept and then redistribute to a family in need. So typically when a family comes to us, be it, after the child's been born or even in pregnancy, if they're underprepared and, don't really know how they're going to be able to afford those baby items, it's a huge deal to be able to tell them, you don't have to worry about diapers ever. We've got, the expensive big ticket items, and then we're going to make sure you have clothing and blankets and, bibs and socks and bottles and all the other things that come with a baby. So that's the direct service side of the actual provision of items, which is great. And that's really kind of how we started, 6 years ago. We were really just redistributing those goods and helping our clients navigate resources, which is kind of just in the background, making sure that they're engaging with other community agencies and organizations to meet their needs and understanding how to receive services and how to navigate them. And, even social services can be a beast to navigate. So we do resource navigation, and that side of things really grew, right? So realizing the other supports that parents need to thrive, aside from engaging with community organizations, which is fantastic, we want to help them really grow towards their own goals. So we expanded our resource navigation program into coaching program. So we provide one-on-one life coaching to our clients to help them set goals and show up as the best version of themselves, which is really the core of our mission, to help parents be their best for themselves and their kids. Nice. And additionally, we do parent education classes. So we do birth planning through 5 to 7 year old parenting age classes.
Nice.
That's what we do.
That's amazing. And has it been 6 years that you've been operational?
Yeah, we incorporated in January of 2016. So we just this month hit our last month almost. Yeah.
That's amazing. How did this all happen? What prompted this?
Yeah, so when I was 19, as a college student, found myself in an unplanned pregnancy, and I feel that I really had some resources that allowed me to be successful in that really challenging and traumatizing period of time for me. And it was still extremely difficult, but I had resources, I had friends, I had family, I had, full high school education and some college education, and, I was savvy enough to be able to navigate things. I didn't have things like, anxiety or depression and things that would make that even more challenging, right? And I looked up when my son was 4, and I thought about the things that I navigated and some of the need gaps that I was seeing in the community, some of the holes that existed for myself. And I started to think, what is this like for individuals that don't have the kinds of supports that I had, who didn't have some of the intrinsic resources that I had? What does it look like for them, and how can I fill some of these gaps? And so, as I said, we started to just redistribute baby aids. We would just accept the donations and give them back out, and that was, how it started, and helping people realize, like, this is how you apply for Medicaid for yourself and the baby, and this is how you apply for housing assistance, and really navigating social services and getting referred to other organizations that provide parent supports. So that's really how it got started, and it was through my experience of realizing what was missing, and really diapers ended up being a huge one. After we started, we realized that our families just did not have them, and they didn't have consistent, dependable, affordable access to diapers at all. And while there are national diaper banks and regional food pantries that provide provide diapers, and there are food pantries in our neighborhoods that provide diapers, the trickle down from the millions of diapers that are free and available in our nation to what that actually looks like for a mom or a dad who doesn't have enough, it ends up being like a small sleeve in a size that happens to be available at their local pantry. There was kind of some systemic issues with the way we were addressing diaper insecurity, and I was like, no, we need a monthly supply, and we need it all the time. We ship it right to our families' homes, so there's no travel barriers, there's no, you have to show up and hope we have your size. And it's great, right? Anyone getting diapers out, it's fantastic, but what we found was the stress of not knowing if you had enough beyond the next day, the next week. That's something that as a parent you carry with you, even when you have them, right? It's the stress of, will I have them next week? Will I have them when my child grows out of this size? So we tried to be unique in the way that we addressed the need gaps we were seeing to make sure that they weren't just putting a Band-Aid on the issue, but really solving it in some deeper way, and taking the emotional and mental burden off of families as much as we could.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's I was a fairly young mother. I was 21 when I had my son, and things like that are just it's hard enough, but I can't imagine the burden of really not knowing where the next packaged diapers or anything is coming from. So I think that's incredible. What other, how many families would you say you've served so far in 6 years? It's got to be.
Geez. Well, our data from 2021 shows that we served right around 500 families last year.
Wow.
And so a lot of those were pre-existing to 2021. We served, I believe 160-ish, I don't remember the exact number, but around 160 new families in 2021.
Wow.
And our client base quadrupled in 2020. So I would say probably between 600 and 700 families overall, many of whom are still engaging in our programs on an ongoing basis.
That's amazing. I just had a question and it lost me. It's a Monday. It's a Monday of all Mondays. Your family served. God, I can't even remember. That's awful. Sorry.
No, it's all right. Happens to me.
Yeah, today's just been chaos this morning. I'm definitely stumbling a little bit. I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. What are some of the challenges that you face trying to accomplish your goals?
Yeah, well, full transparency, I tend to be a very big picture person. And, if I'm seeing these issues, if I experience these issues and I'm seeing them in Troy and Albany and Schenectady and Rensselaer, I know that they exist outside of those 3 counties that we serve. I know they exist outside of our region and our state. And I believe that the way that we're addressing the need gaps that exist in this community for families is unique. And I know that it's scalable, right? And so I'm always trying to provide deeper connection and services for each family we serve, but also to broaden our reach too, big picture over time. And so not necessarily that it's a challenge, but it's always kind of propelling me forward to find new, better, bigger ways so that we can not have this be, a 3-county solution, but to really provide very unique services based on each region's needs. And so as we grow, I'm always thinking, okay, so how do we get outside of this area? How do we, duplicate our services and spread it across different regions, different areas? And that's hard because it's expensive,
Yeah.
right? So it's about building that infrastructure, building systems that work, that can be duplicated in other areas and are scalable. So that's kind of the challenge for me.
How do you get funding for these projects?
Yeah, so we have a lot of really excellent funders who believe in what we're doing, have been really supportive. United Way, the Capital Region, Alliance for Better Health, MVP, CDPHP, SEFQ. So we've got some local support that's really been fantastic. The Community Foundation, and smaller annual funds like Stewart's Holiday Match, and different local foundations and funders have allowed us to grow and really believe in our mission and see its impact, which is fantastic. But seeking funding from local governments, state governments, and federal funding would be fantastic at some point. But it's a whole other arena to break into.
Are you private or public?
So we're a 501c3. So we belong to the public technically, but as a nonprofit, we're incorporated as a nonprofit.
Okay, gotcha. So do you have plans to expand into other counties? Is that something that you're actively working on?
It's always out there in the future as something that I am making a conscious effort to step closer and closer towards. One of the biggest needs we have right now is staff, and funding for more staff roles. We actually just hired a program director who will be coming on board in the upcoming months and helping us go deeper and expand our programs, including our childcare initiatives. But the goal is to be able to hire more fantastic individuals that can make sure that our work is going as deep as possible, that families that want to engage on a deeper level have that. And then once we've kind of done that and gone as deep as we can locally, yes, we would like to expand to the 7-county region, because right now we're in the Tri-County. And then beyond that, yes, I'd love to take this programs and try and meet specific need gaps that other areas are having.
That's
And
amazing.
we are in conversation with some other locations at some point, some other foundations in other regions that would love to have us eventually. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's great. 6 years is a good amount of time to have gotten yourself established. What did the earlier years look like?
The earlier years looked like me working full time and volunteering my time to build programs and serve clients as they were referred. And, really the growth has been, the more time that I can put into it, the more it's grown, which is how anything that you start goes, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I worked full time for the first 4 years of the organization, and I volunteered my time the whole time. I became an official member of the staff in the last quarter of 2021. So really, it's been a lot of building, blood, sweat, tears, and making connections and doing all that I can to establish a strong foundation for the organization to grow on, so that the work that we're doing continues. And I really wanted to serve families as well as we could at that time, right? So there were much less families engaging because there was just less time and less, capacity. But now as our capacity's grown, our client base has grown, and so that's really exciting to see. And always kind of thinking of the future and what that looks like to be able to continue to go that deep with families as we serve more.
Can you tell us about one of your success stories? One of the things, something that you're the most proud of in this whole journey?
Yeah, anytime I'm asked what I'm most proud of, I just think about the transformation and the growth that I've seen in our clients, because that's the hard work, right? Like me being on the outside and providing supports is great, but it's much harder to need those supports. It's much harder to utilize them to grow to a place where you don't. That's the hard work. And so when I see our families go from a place of really being in need, I'd love to see how our programs kind of fit in, the puzzle pieces of their lives and empower them and help to create stabilization, but also help them dream. Like that's been the most exciting thing. And a lot of families flash through my mind when I think about it, but there is one client who's so near and dear to my heart, and it was between like mid-2020 and mid-2021, her whole world just kind of shifted. And she's a young mom of 2 kids, is a young mom of 2 kids, and she was in a rough situation. She had some challenges in her world, like stacked on top of each other from really every angle, employment-wise, financially, family-wise, relationship-wise. She was past due on her rent, didn't have what she needed for her kids, was fleeing a domestic violence relationship, had, mental health barriers, had, all of it, literally all of it. And I am so incredibly proud of her because she is the perfect example of what it looks like to really struggle but push through. It wasn't easy, and her journey. And every time I talk to her, I just talked to her this morning, but every time I talk to her, I see her fighting to believe for something better. And that alone takes so much. I think it's that belief. And through the relationship and the encouragement that we've been able to give her, I've watched her push through and believe for better, despite the odds. Overcome so many of her barriers. And, some of her accomplishments, and really that to me is the accomplishment, right? It's that piece. But her physical, accomplishments from when she first started engaging in our programming to where she is now. She's gotten her GED, she purchased a car, she moved into a better apartment, she's had legal situations set up to protect her and her kids. She's repaired relationships with family members, she's grown as a parent, she's become employed, she's gotten certifications at work to grow her career. She's getting job offers now without even applying for things. It's just so beautiful to see. She's talking about going back to school, to continue her education. She has goals, and she's really got her eyes focused on the future, and she has hope. And that's the thing that's been inspiring for me to see, because it's really despite the odds, fully despite the odds. And it's so much easier to just shut down and to succumb to the pressure, to succumb to, depression and anxiety and all of the things that she could have just kind of given into. And I'm just so incredibly proud to have been any part of her journey forward. That is the kind of hope that I believe that every client can get to and can achieve, and I hope to be more and more a part of giving our families that hope.
So you're providing resources, you're providing a lot of things so that people can transform their lives, but like anything else, there's only just so much you can do. You can lead a horse to water, but this sounds like this particular individual really was ready to drink. How do you deal with the disappointment of those that won't drink? Because I'm sure there's got to be, some.
Yeah. Well, I lead with the belief that any sort of support, resource, assistance is only going to be beneficial for someone if they're ready to engage in it and engage with it. And so there are so many factors, so many pieces of a person that can play a role in whether or not they're ready to engage in a service. And sometimes the service that clients are ready to engage in is free diapers. Fantastic, right?
Yep.
And sometimes it's, a pregnant woman who's putting her trust and belief in our word that we will make sure she has what she needs. And she's choosing to put her hope in that, right? Sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's counting on someone to advocate for you and to help you navigate community resources, depending on what they're advising you to do in navigating those resources. And sometimes it's being vulnerable enough to take a parenting class and to, admit that you don't know everything and kind of grow together with the, space that's provided to discuss parenting and be vulnerable in the challenges that come with parenting. And then sometimes it's, bearing it all in a life coaching session and really being present with a coach who's going to help you address barriers, discuss, your own challenges, your mindsets, to reframe your perspectives. Sometimes it's going that deep. And sometimes it's engaging in one at a time until you get to that point. But we have a lot of clients that the first referral is for life coaching, and it can be transformative. And a lot of times, really dealing with what's going on inside and being vulnerable with our own perspectives and the things going on in our heads allows all the rest of the things to fall in place much better. And so understanding that there's kind of that spectrum of willingness to be vulnerable and willingness to engage, we make all of it available to our clients at the onset of the relationship. And then they kind of have, varying levels of engagement over time based on their needs and where they're at.
Very nice. So I was introduced to your organization through the Perfect Pitch through the Women's United. And at that, you were trying to put something together to address the childcare crisis that affects, I would say, probably 90% of parents, if I were to guess.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, it's insane. I have resources at my disposal, and yet childcare is one of the biggest hurdles in what I'm trying to accomplish. Can you tell me about that program? Are you still working on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize I had to move. My 2-year-old came downstairs, and it was only a matter of time before she ended up in the camera.
Oh, I have one as well. She's just not here today, so I understand.
Yeah. The allure of a Zoom call. It's like, I can hear you're in a meeting, so this is my time, right, to shine. So, speaking of children, as far as the child care programs we're hoping to build, there are a few angles that we're taking in our involvement. And it's really based on, a core principle for our organization that we address specific need gaps. We're not trying to duplicate services locally, and we want to really do what we're good at and find unique ways to address issues that parents face based on what we're good at, right? If we're not the best, the most well-suited organization, then we're not going to do it. We want to use the things that we're doing in a unique way. So we took that approach when we considered what kind of involvement we might have in childcare. And, our board discussed what makes sense and how we can address issues in a unique way. So there's kind of two sides to what we're proposing to do. The Perfect Pitch event, we pitched forming a childcare consortium, which they exist. There are other consortiums out there. But this one will be kind of addressing the undercurrent of, disparities in childcare regionally. Part of what we're seeing is a lack of childcare providers and a lack of childcare staff, and not enough open slots for the existing providers. But when you really peel back the curtain and you look at why is that, you see low income individuals working at daycare centers that they can't even afford to put their own children in. You see the family, friend, and neighbor, which I discussed at the Perfect Pitch event. You see those individuals that are caring for our kids when we're working, somebody that we know, that might be receiving, our subsidized voucher from the county to provide care, which is not a whole lot of money.
No.
But those individuals that are providing that care often have their own barriers and their own income constraints and their own challenges to be able to sustain an environment that can continue to welcome children in daily so that their parents can work. And then you also see, you know, a lack of training and education around home daycare businesses, a lack of funding, which is something that the Community Loan Fund pitched about. And so they're addressing that issue of providing the education and providing the programming and providing the funding for individuals who want to open family daycare centers in their homes. But then there's that challenge of what barriers are they facing? What are some of the things that could keep them from keeping their doors open long term? Yeah. And if you think about the accessibility, the affordability, the availability of childcare slots, all of those things play a role. So our approach is to provide support for each of the individuals mentioned. For the low-income daycare workers, to provide resource navigation and coaching support to make sure that they're able to continue working. Because that's, you know, a minimum wage role that's so important to our community.
Yeah.
We need to, I mean, we can't necessarily create more money in the budget for all daycare centers in the world, but we can try and create stabilization and supports for their employees so they can continue working. And then the family, friend, and neighbor, they have you know, legal requirements for them to be in compliance. And sometimes it's as simple as like, you know, smoke detectors and egress ladder and, you know, cots for the children to sleep in. And they don't have extra money in their budget to provide that. The parents whose children they're watching don't have extra money to provide that for, you know, their friends' home, right?
The vouchers will just cover snacks.
Basically, it's that, you know? So it's like, this is such an important role in the community. What are their needs? How do we get some funding to make sure that they have things to remain in compliance so they don't get shut down and mom and dad have to leave the workforce? And then the same for individuals that are being trained and opening their own businesses and getting the funding to address the lack of daycare, you know, options. How do we stabilize them and make sure that they stay in business? And so that's really helping them navigate resources and getting creative about solving problems to their questions and solving problems in their business models. And so the other piece of the way we're addressing this is to do mentorship as well for those individuals that are going through training and potentially act as a vendor for different childcare centers with mentorship programs that organizations like the Community Loan Fund can put their students through.
And I think one of the things that you touched on at the Perfect Pitch was specifically those odd hours of overnights and weekends and later nights, because, you know, I remember being a single mom and trying to balance, you know, taking positions that were on those off hours because they typically paid a little bit more, but then having no chance at finding anybody to watch the kids ever at those hours. It's just not available.
Not to mention the experience of wanting to go to work but not having dependable childcare, and even if you are getting, you know, a subsidy or a voucher to pay for that, they're like, yeah, you can get this when you have a job. Like, okay, how am I going to get a job if I don't have childcare? You know, so especially in those non-traditional hours, like you mentioned, those nights, those weekends, overnight, there are no childcare centers in this region that do overnight care. Zero.
You know, what's interesting too is I have friends in other states where, you know, they're like, oh yeah, there's like 4 drop-in centers for us. And, you know, you just drop them in and sign them out and, you know, at odder hours, you know, even if, you know, for anybody that's working and they're available in other states, that's just not here. And, you know, those vouchers that they offer, even finding a daycare provider that's willing to accept only that as their pay is nearly impossible because, like we mentioned, it barely covers snacks. So it's definitely a very broken system, and I really, really hope that you're able to get something off the ground because it was one of the biggest struggles that I had. I mean, as a single mother, it was a huge struggle. Even as, you know, I'm no longer a single mother. I just had 3 weeks in which I didn't have childcare because of the COVID stuff that's happening. And there's a whole new layer that I don't even know if anybody can address at this point. I think it's fantastic. So it sounds like you are in the corner for a lot of families and a lot of people and a lot of individuals, cheering them on and helping them on their journeys. Who's in your corner? Who's there for you every day, reminding you that you've got this and it's all going to work out?
Yeah. Well, I've been very fortunate to have family and friends that don't think I'm insane when I really do
maybe
things.
Just a little bit, because you have to be a little bit.
Just a little, but rather than talking me off the ledge, they're like, no, yeah, this is going to happen. You got this, which is fantastic. I'm really blessed to have an incredible husband who's in my corner every day, and his name is Brandon. He's fantastic and helps with the kids and helps with me and just keeps everything going. And he's my grounding, calm presence, because when things start to feel like a lot, he's like, it's okay. He's just a very calm presence, and that's been amazing to have. And my kids, who keep me busy and keep me smiling, are also at this point with me all the time. So my 9-year-old is doing an online homeschool program, and my 2-year-old is home. So we do have help. We have my aunt, my mom, friends, people that step in and watch the kids on a somewhat regular basis, or some on a regular basis, to allow office time. But it takes a village, and I'm fortunate to have a village, and just relatives. My sister-in-law's fantastic and will call me and talk me off the edge. I've got friends, professional relationships too, that have become really strong friendships that have helped. And I have a coach myself that helps me keep things in line, which I think is really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody needs a life coach. Absolutely. Every single person in the world needs a life coach.
Well, part of our model is to make it accessible to individuals that wouldn't otherwise have access to it, because it's expensive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But who is it more important for than those kind of on the cusp of, survival, right? Like the hierarchy of needs. If we're only providing that kind of support to those that are, have their needs met and are fulfilled in a lot of ways and are just trying to reach that top part of the pyramid, that's wonderful. But what about the individuals who can't get out of that first, food, shelter, clothing, baby items, safety, right? Like, let's meet those needs and then provide coaching access so that they can move up and contribute in the way that they're meant to, and have deeper fulfillment, and then an intergenerational impact, right? Because poverty is cyclical, and if we're not providing supports that go beyond just putting band-aids on the problems, but really helping people set goals and then achieve those goals for themselves, that trickles down to following generations. That's really what's important, is that it goes beyond you and me and our lives, but that it also impacts our children.
Very nice. So if someone were watching this and they thought that they're in the proper county and they wanted to utilize your services, how would one go about doing that?
Yeah, so we have an online application. It's momstartshere.org. We accept applications right on our website. And if you're a Medicaid, WIC, or SNAP recipient, you automatically qualify. But we do have some ways to make exceptions. For example, we serve a lot of refugee and immigrant families that might not be enrolled in those programs yet, but would income qualify. We can make exceptions around that. But that's all we require, and some basic information about your needs, and completing an application online will get you connected.
And if somebody were incredibly inspired by everything that you're doing and wanting to make a donation?
Yeah, so there is a link on our website, to sign up to become a monthly donor. We have individuals that give $25 a month, which provides a box of diapers for one child every month. And I love that model, right, where you're giving a little bit every month, but you're having a really consistent impact. The link on our website, so all of our all of our donations that we receive from the public or from individual donors goes directly into our programs. None of that goes to overhead. staffing, salaries, nothing like that. It all goes directly to our programs. And so signing up for a monthly donation is incredibly impactful, but you can make a one-time donation on that link as well.
Nice. And if individuals have new or gently loved child items, where can they bring those?
Yes, so we accept donations on our behalf at the distribution center at the Schenectady City Mission, which is 311 Cheltenham Ave in Rotterdam. They're open from 9 to 3, Monday through Friday. And if you bring something in for them and say it's for Mom Starts Here, they set it aside for us. Alternatively, we do have the ability to accept donations in Troy, but that is by appointment only, and those can be scheduled by messaging us on Facebook.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to chat with us. I think what you're doing is absolutely wonderful. There's such a need. I'm incredibly inspired by your story, and we'll make sure to have all of that information out on the blog and in the social media posts for everybody. And again, this will be sitting in our YouTube channel forever and always. So thank you so much. I'm really glad that we were able to connect and chat today. And good luck with everything. I hope your daycare, childcare initiative gets off the ground soon.
It sure will. Thanks for having me, Leslie. This has been great.
You enjoy the rest of your day.